Hi, my name is Chris Marshall, President of United Collegiate Umpires. I want to welcome you to the 2019 United Collegiate Umpires preseason baseball video. Today I want to take this opportunity to talk about some topics that will better prepare our umpires, coaches, and players for the upcoming 2019 season. (2019) brings us some pretty significant rule changes that a lot of our coaches certainly, I hope, have taken the opportunity to look at, and we've spent a lot of time speaking with our umpires, preparing them for these rule changes and how we're going to apply them to the way we umpire our games. And communication is going to be a huge factor in how we clear up and answer questions on the field, certainly with players and coaches relating to the charge conferences, hit by pitch. So really what we're trying to do here is just make sure that we have enough information and are able to answer questions and head off any of these situations early in the season as we're all getting used to these new rule changes. Our Coaches Corner content will give us the opportunity to show a number of topics and videos relating to the 2019 rule changes. Brian deBrauwere, our United Collegiate Umpires rules interpreter, will now highlight some of these examples.
Welcome to the 2019-2020 NCAA baseball rule changes presented by United Collegiate Umpires. This presentation is not meant to be a replacement of a thorough reading and reviewing of the rules. Our objective is to highlight the changes and how it may affect your 2019 season. If you have questions regarding specific plays and interpretations, please email us at rules@umpires.org. Rule 9.1 A and B, page 83, wind up and set positions. These next two rule changes appear promising on clearing up the confusion over previous years regarding which position the pitcher is in. The new language requires the pitcher in the wind-up position to have his free foot touching or behind the plane of the front edge of the pitcher's plate. To be in the set position, the pitcher now must have his pivot foot in contact with and parallel to the pitcher's plate with his free foot in front of the pitcher's plate. The penalty with runners on base for an illegal pitching position will be a balk. The penalty with no runners on base will be an illegal pitch. Rule 8.3E, 1, note on page 73. Obstruction. This rule change aligns the enforcement of blocking a base more consistently across playing rules. In 2019, the language changes from on a pickoff play at any base to on a play at any base. A fielder may no longer block a base until he has clear possession of the ball. In this video, the catcher would be called for obstruction due to blocking the base without clear possession of the ball and impeding the runner's progress towards the base. Coaches can join a defensive conference already in progress. However, he must do this before the catcher or player leaves the mound or the umpire initiates breaking up the conference, or he is at risk of being charged a second defensive conference. This then becomes a conference including a coach. Our specific directive to our umpires is that the umpire's movement towards the mound to break up the conference serves as that initiation. Therefore, umpires should make a specific effort to look at the defensive dugout before going to the mound to break up a conference with only players. A conference will not be charged for brief incidental communication during the normal course of play, such as a pitcher walking back to the mound after backing up a position. During pitching changes, base runners must return to their last position prior to the last warm-up pitch thrown. Once the maximum number of conferences has been reached, position players will be denied any request to conference and ultimately ejected if necessary. A coach will be warned, and if the conference continues, the player will be removed from the game. It's imperative in these situations for our umpires to communicate with each other and players and coaches about how many conferences each team has used. Rule 6.2D on page 58, backswing interference. This rule was more of a clarification due to inconsistent enforcement across multiple previous seasons. The key language in this rule that has been removed is, as the pitch is caught. When a batter's follow-through hits the catcher, since catching the pitch is no longer a factor, the keys to this rule are: 1. Identifying the catcher being struck by a follow-through. 2. If the batter remains in his batter's box. 3. If the catcher is in the act of making a throw. 4. Whether the initial throw retires the runner. Once the catcher has been contacted, no matter how slight it may be, there are a couple potential outcomes. If the catcher does not make a throw, the umpire will call time, that's backswing interference, and send runners back to their base. If the catcher can immediately secure the ball and attempt an initial throw, the umpire should point at the catcher, say, that's backswing interference, and wait to determine if the initial throw retires the runner. If it does, play continues. If not, time is called and all runners return to their base at the time of the pitch. If the catcher does not secure the ball and must retreat after it, the umpire should call time and return runners to their bases at the time of pitch. By not securing the ball, the catcher was not in the act of making a throw. Lastly, if the umpire judges that the batter has committed batter's interference by an intentional act or interfering with the play by leaving his box, batter's interference will still supersede the follow-through, striking the catcher, and those penalties will apply. The next video demonstrates the proper identification and enforcement of a follow-through striking the catcher and no play being made on the runner. Appendix F, Pitch and Between Innings Clock Protocol. The clock time will increase to a standardized 120 seconds between half innings, and the timing will now start when the last out is made in the previous half inning.
Once again, in 2019, we are following the NCAA policy and the warning system that the NCAA has provided us and our umpires. We ask our umpires to be the ones on the field that diffuse situations, do not escalate situations, and we are fully aware of the fact that emotions happen. The emotions get the best of us with coaches, players, even umpires at times. But it's our job and our duty to be the ones that diffuse the situation, answer questions when we can, and make sure that we try in every way possible to keep players and coaches in the game. One thing that I do ask of coaches and players, and certainly ask of our umpires, when we do warn players and coaches, to make sure that you guys respect the warning system, know that we're following the process that's been laid down by the NCAA, and when a warning is issued, that truly is the time where, hey, you as players and coaches have to make sure that you respect that warning, back off, and certainly the last resort after warning is an ejection, and we're all trying very hard to make sure we keep players and coaches in the games and use that ejection process as a last resort. The reality is I cannot be out there physically watching every single game. I'm out every weekend during the week watching our umpires, doing evaluations, helping them, mentoring them throughout the season. But I need more. I need to hear from the coaches. I have observers, evaluators watching games through our peer evaluations, our umpires and crew chief evaluations. We have a pool of information we use throughout the year. But without having that input from our coaches, which is vitally important, I need to know exactly what they think of how our umpires are acting, how they're performing on the field, positives, negatives, and I need that information so I can help and ensure that our umpires are improving throughout the season. I use all of this information gathered from all those sources, obviously for the selections of our conference staffs for next season, but also to make sure we put the best umpires in conference tournaments in postseason. In conclusion, We expect some growing pains and issues early on in the 2019 season with these significant rule changes. I ask you, if you have any questions or concerns at the beginning of the season or anytime throughout the season, to contact me or our rules interpreter, Brian deBrauwere. And I wish you the best of luck for the upcoming season.